Well, hello and welcome to the candy wallpapered upstairs hallway of the dollhouse for another reading from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Just Elfers for October 28th, the day of research. And here at the top of the page is a visual representation of the day of research, if you like. Well, we have us an image of a tortoise and an automaton rabbit. That's right. You can't really see it, but he's got no guts insofar as biological guts. He's got a little spring attached to some gears and such. Like I said, you can't really see it, but it's in there. Any event, I don't know if that's necessarily an apt representation of the day of research, but hey, maybe we'll make some connotations as we get on with the reading. But that's not altogether important. No, what's important is it's October 28th and it's someone's birthday today. So I just want to wish you a happy birthday. That's right. That's what's important. But if this video finds you late, I don't know, days, weeks, months, whatever it may be, people get busy. They're not necessarily searching for their birthday. But anyway, if that's the case, I just want to say I hope you had a happy birthday. But for everyone else who's joining us randomly or more ideally to celebrate the October 28th birthday, I just want to say hello, welcome, and I hope you enjoy yourself. Now, before we get started with the redirect, let's roll some dice. This is the DykASSt birthday broadcast, so we need to live up to the namesake around these here parts by rolling some dice. But we do so more specifically for synchronicity's sake. And here we rolled us a 6 and a 4 for a 10. Now, what is synchronicity, you might be wondering? Well, it's just you getting out into the world there and letting the universe show you it's with you on your path. And you do that by using your numbers as kind of a waypost, if you like. It's like a mutually agreed upon sign between you and the universe to show you it's with you on its path, to have little things, it's communicating with you, if you like. And, so maybe you get out there with your own set of dice, more preferably. You don't necessarily have to go with the numbers that I roll for you, but you set numbers to, or set directions to number sets, if you like, north, south, east, west, and then you roll yourself a number to find out how long to go in those directions. But once you reach the end of that time limit, going down that particular direction, you stop, compose yourself, and you look for your signs, maybe your daily numbers, or maybe something anomalous. Say maybe maybe a bunch of people are in the area, right? But everybody's just looking kind of generic. But maybe there's somebody who's wearing like a hot pink shirt, say, and they just stand out amidst a sea of beige or whatever. Well, hey, maybe take that as a sign, something anomalous, right? And roll your dice and whatever number you get. And by the time you figure out what that number is, there'll be enough distance between you and that person where you can follow them, see where they're going for that time limit that you just rolled yourself. And maybe by the time you reach the end of that time limit, you let them go on their way, right? Maybe you're in front of a shop of some kind, and hey, maybe it just so happens to have a 46 in the address there. Well, hey, go on in. Maybe it turns out to be a shop of idiosyncratic things. Not like idiosyncratic things. Maybe it's a tchotchke store, a bunch of knickknacks. And what do you find? Well, they got animatronic rabbits, and maybe they even sell some turtles in there, some tortoises or whatever. Probably not, but hey, that's just it. The day can start to take on a theme. And maybe you start seeing little things popping up all over the place and just otherwise random thing, like, hey, animatronic rabbits, we see another one. There's another one. There's another one. I mean, I know that's very specific because it's in the book, but it could be anything. So just stay eagle-eyed, look out for your signs. And the whole point is to see, taste, touch, and feel the magic that the universe ostensibly puts on our path every day, but we're not on the lookout for. And so, I hope that's what you can do for yourself there. See, taste, touch, feel the magic of the universe with you on your path. All right, so once again, 4 and a 6 for a 10. Get out there, right? But let's dive in with your birthday read. I think you get the point. Your month is October, your day is the 28th, your sign is 3 to 6 degrees Scorpio of the Scorpio I period specifically, and your quality and element is fixed water. All right, let's dive in, shall we? October 28th, the day of research. Those born on October 28th believe in being well prepared, and before they speak on any given subject or allow themselves to invest their time, money, and energy in a career or business, they generally make an effort to comprehend the complexities involved. In addition, research continues to aid them in their undertakings once they are on the rails. Doing their homework is a kind of compulsion for many born on this day who hate above all things the embarrassment of being caught unprepared. Their efforts go to neurotic extremes where they experience anxiety over deadlines, arriving on time, and maintaining control and order in their work. And October 28 people may get in trouble if they apply their own standards when judging others or placing demands on intimates. And learning to accept laughter and jokes about themselves and their little foibles will be important to their maintaining good health. Most October 28 people make no distinction between career and private lives. Some, however, go in the opposite extreme and adopt a much more relaxed or even sloppy attitude at home. And perhaps the latter type are ultimately happier, but certainly both types demand understanding from those who live with them. Seeing what is behind phenomena, learning how things work is extremely important to October 28 people. Their outlook in this respect tends to be very serious indeed. And as they see it, they are always working for the betterment of their fellow human beings. Paradoxically, however, they do not really care that much for people en masse, and they may have an aversion for crowds. And October 28 people demand very high standards in personal relationships and friendships. But must be sensitive enough to allow others the chance to shape the terms of the interaction. They must also beware of being too stern and eidetic with their own children in this respect. And exposing the truth is a recurrent and central theme in the lives of October 28 people. Consequently, they may run the risk of becoming sarcastic and cutting, and thus unpopular, it says in parentheticals. They must avoid prying or butting in where they are not appreciated, and will benefit greatly if they make a conscious effort to cultivate diplomacy and learn to bring matters to people's attention in a kinder and more considerate manner. Generally, those born on October 28th are good with money and intent on building a secure financial base for themselves, or secure, more properly said. And they understand both how to invest and how to save. And the accumulation of power is important to them only as they see it to further the work and at the benefit of their family, social group, and perhaps mankind at large. However, they must beware of limiting the spontaneity of others and of themselves through rigidly exercised and controlling attitudes. Well, all right. Hey, it's quite the dynamic birthday there. A little focused, if you like. But hey, let's dive into some notes. I'd like to provide a little bit of a commentary on what we've just read. So let's dive into it, shall we? You believe in being well prepared, and this extends to any given subject that may give voice to or to any endeavor or investment. You may dedicate your time and your money. The reading also conveys homework as a kind of compulsion, even when in the thick of having undertaken these projects also. Hating to be unprepared and the associated embarrassment that goes with it, to which I would say it's a noble quality. All right, there's too many people in this life that are unprepared, and speaking to experience, being in the Marine Corps, it's just there is a certain baked-in anxiety because you always have to be 15 minutes prior to the time you're expected to show up somewhere. So it even mentioned that kind of thing. You hate to be late to things, and you know what? That carries on with me because it was just drilled down into me with respect to the military. So I can appreciate some of the anxieties that might go with all of that. But speaking for myself, hey, I think homework is a total drag, all right? Prep work too, for that matter, but it's necessary, right? But I'm wondering if it isn't something you desire or you derive, rather, enjoyment from. And if that's the case, it's a whole different dynamic. Homework is usually done out of necessity, but I'd argue if it's a fun activity for you, that makes all the difference, right? Maybe you started out with it as a means to prepare yourself. Maybe you find you enjoy it, and that's where you really hunker down and you like that aspect of it. And I know that's an element to be true for some folks. So that's great if it is. But I would say if it isn't, if it's something you don't like doing, you abhor it as much as the next person. It's very commendable that you do it anyway, because that means you got the discipline to sit down and pound it out. So hey, keep at it if that's the case, and if you enjoy it, of course you're gonna stick with it, right? So any event, what else do I got here to say? Being caught unprepared is an experience like no other, for sure. On the other hand, being the only one in the room who did the work and making everyone else look like complacent, that's also a feeling like none other. For better or worse, however, because some people might take a little bit of antagonism with you, considering, oh, this guy did the work and making everybody else look like a bunch of jerks. I think that's happened. To me, I can recall one class in high school where we were supposed to read Bram Stoker's Dracula over the holiday. And it was like 3 or 4, maybe 5 chapters. And I certainly didn't want to do it, but I actually saw the movie. And then having seen the movie, I had all the imagery in my head. And that's certainly one movie with a lot of interesting imagery. And it captivated me to read. I don't know if I read the whole book, but I read a good portion of it. And so I was well prepared when I went to school because I enjoyed reading it, and I think that's what makes the difference too. I was invested in it, right? Nobody else did the reading, so whenever there was a question, like I would raise my hand, have the answer, and nobody else. But I think there's a way of relating the fact that you did the work in a diplomatic manner. So that makes all the difference too. You're not going to get antagonized if you make it seem like it was fun and everybody else is like, oh, I was missing out. Okay, I need to read this book now. But instead, if you're like, oh, hey, Mr. So and So, yeah, that part, yeah, this is what happened. That's what happened. And everyone's like, look at this jerk. I think you get the point. But that was just a little aside I thought I'd throw in there. So I could see how you might chase it for that reason too. Just the fulfillment you get out of knowing, like, hey, I did the work, I've got the answers. Everybody else, you know what? You're looking complacent. How about that? So maybe you get off on that a little bit. Maybe you like feeling like that. Who's to say? But in either event, I thought I'd drill down on that dynamic. I thought it was interesting. Like I said, I see why you might chase it, but just mind going neurotic, however. Anxiety isn't worth it, especially if you enjoy it. Maybe there's just too much homework coming at you, and you're like, I gotta rise to the occasion, I gotta do it. Maybe the enjoyment starts to seep out of it at that point. So yeah, you might have to take a step back. Learn to say no to the folks that expect you to do the homework just because, hey, they do it already. They do it anyway all the time. They like it. So yeah, just give it to them to do. Hey, you know what? You're burning me out, man. I can only do so much. Don't be afraid to voice it. All right. Assuming you probably already do that. But hey, then I just thought I'd mention it. But you wouldn't want to ruin something you enjoy. If that's the case. That said, try lending credence to the idea of not applying your strict standards on others and being okay with quips about your idiosyncrasies. Interesting notion, but I'd say do it within reason, okay? There's a difference between celebrating what makes you an individual and someone giving you a little bit of a hard time about it, all in good jest. And there's a difference between that and being a complete punching bag. And you know what? Nobody deserves to be that. So, yeah, like I said, learn to say no. But I also had another thing. Look, it isn't an opportunity to do homework on someone else, all right? Figure these people out who like to do the roasting so that you can know what to expect from the former and how to roast them in kind with the latter. Those folks who might be trying to put you under the bus, hey, put them under the bus, right? Gain a little bit of respect, right? And maybe get the rest of the folks laughing at him. Hey, you know what? This guy's all right. Yeah, he does his homework too. How about that? He put you under the bus, dude. Now they know not to trifle, right? Now they know you're open to a little bit of ribbing anyway, right? What else do we got here? That said, I'm right there with you, wanting to work for the betterment, of mankind, so to speak, or just kind of in general, trying to push the boat out a little bit, if you like. But I am also averse to people in mass, all right? Crowds stress me out a little bit. I think a little bit of PTSD from the war or whatever causes it. I don't know, but I'm a little bit of an introvert too, so that all of that kind of comes together and not good with crowds. It seems to be a bit in theme with trying to fit in whatever form that takes as well. And I don't think you can go wrong with being diplomatic, like I said, and empathizing with the consideration. They're their own person, and they may not be interested, in what you have to offer. Hey, that's just the thing, you know. Some people don't care, and that's fine because there's probably the same for you with some other folks too, right? Shoe on the other foot and all that. But hey, you can still be diplomatic. So find a way of accepting as much I say. And truth be told, it doesn't sound like most folks have to offer you either, right? Considering your penchant for being prepared, and they probably aren't. So that being said, maybe on occasion get a little sloppy, like they said, in effort to find some kind of enjoyment from any given interaction otherwise. And I extend that to you as much as I do to myself. All right, get a little sloppy. That's right. Okay, that's been the breakdown, a couple of sides to the breakdown and such. So let's move on with your numbers and your planets. That's right. Let's get back into the birthday read, shall we? Those born on the 28th of the month are ruled by the number 1, as 2 plus 8 equals 10, and 1 plus 0 equals 1. And how about that? We rolled us a 10. Didn't plan it. A little bit of synchronicity there for you. All right, what else we got here? And by the sun, all right, and those ruled by the number 1 are typically individual, highly opinionated, and eager to rise to the top. And because, as mentioned above, October 28 people tend to be strongly dominant types, they must beware of being overcome by their power drives. And the sun symbolizes strong creative energy and fire, which is best kept flowing steadily rather than allowed to sporadically flare out of control. The combination of the sun with Pluto, which is Scorpio's ruler, tends to lighten up darker aspects of the Scorpio personality, making them sunny Scorpios, it says in parentheticals, but also gives depth and serious purpose to the life path of October 28 people. All right, highly individualized numbers and planets, by and large. All right, so what I had to say about it here. Number 1, and the sun, all right? I'm always surprised by the Sundays, all right? As hyper-focused as they generally are on one given aspect and how it relates to like the rest of that individual's life. And they kind of did that here by and large. And I seldom key to as much, which is interesting, when I otherwise should, all right? I should be like, this seems like a Sunday, but I generally totally don't recognize it. That said, interestingly, your focus on preparation wasn't nearly as drilled down upon as, say, the 26th was with leadership. So had I been a gambling individual, I probably would have thought the 26th was a Sunday, insofar as sun rulership, not a Sunday day. But you get a little bit more exploration than a typical Sunday in the breakdown, too. So that's also a plus. The sun also apparently lends positive influence to an otherwise darker Scorpio element. So that's also a plus. And if you go watch yesterday's birthday read, you'll see exactly what I mean. They struggle quite a bit with the darker elements if all that stuff's to be taken as gospel. What else we got here? That said, be mindful of your creative energy flaring out of control, all right? But if a sense of purpose and depth are truly imbued by as much, that in and of itself is of considerable value. At least I would argue. So in any event, that's your numbers and planets, like I said, pretty well personalized for you. And they don't always do that. A lot of times they do, but a lot of times they don't too. So it's a mix. But in any event, that being said, your numbers and planets, let's move on to your tarot. That's right. One of the more eclectic of the New Age metaphysical ideologies, if you like. But hey, it's here in the book. It's your birthday. Let's see what it has to say. Doesn't mean we got to take it home with us and start dealing out cards to influence our every life's decision and, flight of fancy. But let's do it, all right? Let's get a little sloppy, if you like. All right. The first card of the major arcana is the Magician, who symbolizes intellect, communication, information, as well as magic. And over his head is an infinity symbol, which in some tarot decks takes the form of a hat, and in others, a halo. And many interpretations may be drawn, one of which is that the magician recognizes the cyclical and unending nature of life and is empowered by this understanding. And the positive traits suggested by this first card include diplomatic skill and shrewdness, but negatively, a lack of scruples and opportunism. I dare say some of those positives, boy, they really spoke to some of the things in the breakdown. Interestingly enough, though you kind of have to look in between, read between the lines there if you like. Even what I have to say about your tarot card, all right? The Magician for intellect, communication, and magic. All right. For recognizing the cyclical and unending nature of life and finding empowerment and understanding. I'd say this corresponds nicely with your seeming search for knowledge and imparting it to others in a way, and putting the work necessary to acquire it. All right. Putting in the work, rather. Not common trait, like I said at the beginning there. So that said, it mentions diplomacy as a positive trait. So if you're having trouble with that realm, just know it's well within your power. That's right. So yeah, drill down on it if you need to, or at least give it a noble attempt. Show some of that homework discipline and finding the diplomacy. All right. So that's been your tarot. A little bit of a copy-paste job, but hey, that's how it goes sometimes. They personalize your numbers of planets quite a bit, so hey, I guess that's the sacrifice. But in any event, that's been your tarot. So let's dive in with your health. All right, your health. October 28 people most often take an active interest in their health and generally heed symptoms of disease. They must beware, however, of going overboard in this respect and becoming obsessed with illness. An important lesson for them to learn is that the body tends to heal itself, and thus they should not seek serious cures for minor illnesses. Keeping a handle on medicinal drug taking may be crucial for maintaining resistance to illness, it says in parentheticals. And I think they mean maybe abusing antibiotics, for instance, when you don't need to, that kind of thing, or abusing or taking them when it's not necessary. Even back into the read here. Learning or developing culinary skills is recommended for October 28 people who have the patience and attention to detail needed to become excellent cooks. How about that? Moderate daily exercise is suggested, such as walking, swimming, or biking. And I think they might have mentioned, this is copyright 1994, so it was a little time before what's going on lately, but those folks that dive into WebMD to figure out their symptoms and such, this kind of speaks to that, I would say. So they're kind of predicting the future there, if you like. But in any event, hey, let's dive in with what I wrote down in a notebook for the health. I only mentioned that WebMD thing because I don't think I wrote it. But an active interest in your health and generally heed disease symptoms. Not altogether common as of late with the other folks born in this period who consume themselves with work. All right. So you're an outlier in that regard. And they do, however, mention not going overboard with such concerns and considerations, interestingly. So don't do too much homework, all right, or research in that regard. Get a little sloppy sometimes, although, that's probably not the best thing to say about your health. Anyway, just moderate research, all right? Home cooking skills and moderate exercise is recommended. Sometimes they don't even mention that kind of thing. They get in there with the diet. They hyper drill down on it. They didn't say that much with you. They just said, work on the cooking and such. And with your studious nature with the homework, hey, you might make an excellent cook. You got the discipline too, so who's to say? In any event, that's been your health, so let's dive in with some advice. Not that we haven't given you a bunch of that already. Let's see what else they have to say. Cultivate the more gentle aspects of your nature, and sometimes take things as they come without having to study causes, all right? And don't be so demanding and judgmental, and allow for spontaneous expression, all right? Worry and fear are the true enemy. All right, hey, there's your advice. You see here, no notes to speak of in the notepad because I ran out of space, so I had to check it though. But I did put some stuff down in the book itself. A little bit of blasphemy here on this day. All right, what do we got here? Cultivate the more gentle aspects. All right, what I'd say. Not sure where this comes from, but if you are intense with regard to your studies, maybe that translate over to things unnecessarily. So be objective in that regard. Have the ability to step outside yourself and kind of see what you're up to with a objective eye, non-judgmental, right? And then see where you stand, right? And I'd say that carries over to being demanding and judgmental. Oh, I just said that. All right. So it's also, what else we have here? Sometimes take things as they come. All right. Right in line with spontaneity. It might lend an air of excitement you aren't used to. Also. All right. Like I say, get a little sloppy. All right. Have some fun. It's good to get out of your comfort zone too, on occasion. All right, see where you stand out there with the other folks in mass, if you like, and just make yourself a little bit uncomfortable. See how you handle it, and you never know what new experiences might arise from that. See, test those worries and fears, if you like. That's what I wrote here, or don't like, rather. But hey, you know what? That just comes part and parcel with showcasing that discipline and working those so-called figurative muscles, if you like. Because you know what, there's going to come a time when you probably do have to be in a crowd, and so you want to be able to function to some capacity. And if and you don't, just assuming that you might have a little bit of trouble with that. Maybe you don't at all. So in any event, that's been your advice. So let's take the energy down just a hair and move on to your meditation. All right, this one's just for you, your meditation. Learning when to let go and allow things to happen on their own is indeed a practiced art. All right, I have to do the delivery a little bit better on that one. Once more, learning when to let go and allow things to happen on their own is indeed a practiced art. All right. Hey, I think I drilled down on that a little bit with the advice there. Didn't even intend to. But in any event, hey, that's your meditation. I don't want to throw some spin on it or influence it for you in some way. It's your birthday, your meditation, so I'll just leave it as it is. Learning to let go and allow things to happen on their own is indeed a practiced art. All right. So there's your meditation. Let's dive in with your strengths and weaknesses. All right, let's do the work. I'm sure we know what these are, but maybe we can guess them. Your strengths, what are they? You're curious, you're thorough, and you're interesting. All right, hey, all right. There's some good strengths right there. All right, but your weaknesses, what do we got? Where do we gotta pull up our suspenders, our work boots, whatever you want to call it, and get to work? What do we got here? Your weaknesses. You're prying, you're demanding, and you're cutting. Oh, what's the cutting one? You know what? Maybe you are good at the quips and roasting folks. But you can't be too intense with it. I don't know who's to say. I don't know where they're getting a couple of those, but maybe you do. Maybe you do. Maybe you just need to hear them so that you can be a little more objective about things. Who's to say? But in any event, those have been your strengths and your weaknesses. So let's dive in with those born on this day and see who shares your company. All right. Sometimes it's fun to see what the lottery was that we drew and who we share a birthday with. But I also like to take this as an opportunity to segue into something that I find important, and that is figuring out our passions. You know, a lot of times I get out in the world and meet folks, ask them what they do, and more importantly, if they like it, and they don't. And you know what? It's a fair thing, because you got to put in work, and you got to have time to put in work to figure those things out. And the way the world stands, a lot of times we don't have the ability to carve that out for ourselves. Or if we do, it's time that would come from things we're doing for fun, or getting rest, if you like. So you have to sacrifice sleep or the other things that just go into kind of making life tolerable. So in any event, I figured this is the perfect opportunity to not only see what folks who share your company did to get into the book, if you like, or get their stamp on the cultural zeitgeist, but maybe what their passions were and what got them there. And so if you find yourself struggling to figure out your own passion, hey, maybe you can take some inspiration from as much. Now, maybe these weren't their passions. Who's to say? It could have just been their everyday job and it got them famous. But, like I said, that doesn't mean you can't take some inspiration from it. Maybe even just us looking at it through that prism will help you stir up the fire for as much, if it's something that you always wanted to do but can never find the time for. But I think you get the point. So let's dive in with those born on this day. And we start off with Desiderius, or Erasmus, the Dutch Renaissance humanist scholar and philosopher, and is responsible for On the Freedom of the Will, and translated the Bible into Greek, apparently. How's that for a studious individual? I'm sure I pronounced his name wrong. We'll rectify that later. We have Jonas Edward Salk, a virologist and dead polio virus vaccine developer, and a writer of Man Unfolding. We have Isaac Merrick Singer, a sewing machine developer, manufacturer. We have Edith Head, the greatest Hollywood costumer, it says. Robert Liston, a Scottish physician and first operated on the anesthetized patient. Sir Richard Doll, a British cancer researcher and established lung cancer smoking link. How about that? William Gates, the corporate executive, Microsoft billionaire, youngest at age 31. I've never heard him called William. Old Bill Gates there. Who else do we have? Auguste Escoffier, or Escoffier probably, a French chef and modernized French cuisine, and responsible for Ma cuisine. We have Francis Bacon. How about that? Scientific method, right? 20th century British painter. Oh, different person maybe. Although he might have been a Renaissance man, so it could be the same Francis Bacon. We have Julia Roberts, the film actress, Hans Dresch, a German philosopher and parapsychologist, also a biologist and a vitologist, or a vitalist, rather. All right. Nicholas Culpeper, only one P in the pepper there, P-E-P-E-R, British 17th century astrologer and a herbalist, or herbalist perhaps. And we have, who we got here? Jane Alexander, film actress, Evelyn Waugh, British novelist of The Loved One, Joan Plowright, a British stage film actress, and married Laurence Olivier. And we also have Elsa Lancaster, film actress, Charlie Daniels, the singer-songwriter from the Charlie Daniels Band, the chicken in the bread pan, picking out dough, gentlemen. I actually had an opportunity to meet him when I was at Embassy Guard in Beijing, China, but I had shifted, what do you call it? I had done the shift change, so the guy after me got to meet him, surprisingly. Old Charlie Daniels stopped in. He didn't have his violin with him, but had to go, or his fiddle, rather. Any of it. Who else do we have here? We're taking us out with Howard Hanson, a composer and a musical professor. And that makes up those born on this day. And by and large, rounds out your birthday reading, except to say, your season is fall, your sign once again is Scorpio, the Scorpio 1 period specifically, and your quality and element is fixed water. And this has been October 28th, the day of research. And I didn't really see where the automaton, rabbit, and the tortoise came in, but maybe you can make that connotation. It is your birthday. At any event, this has been The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Just Elfers. And I have an affiliate link for this book down in the description if you're interested in picking up a copy and studying it further. Lord knows you like to do your homework, supposedly. So, hey, this makes a great coffee table book, even if you don't want to get into it, because maybe you want to have some company over at some point. Maybe you want to roast some folks. That's right. You want to get a little sloppy with it. That's right. Hey, if you do, this makes the perfect coffee table book. It's going to get the ice broken in a figurative or even a literal fashion, especially if you get the hardcover. So, hey, I just saved you the opportunity of having to type it into the browser there if you like. So, in any event, that's not what's important here, though. What's important is it's your birthday, and so I just want to once again wish you a happy birthday. That's right, happy birthday. But for everyone else who joined us, hey, I hope you enjoyed yourself, and we see you for your birthday reading. We'll get a little sloppy, right? But lest we forget your daily numbers. That's right, a 4 and a 6 for some synchronous 10 there. Yeah, get out there, let the universe show you it's with you on your path. See, taste, touch, feel the magic, and if you do, hey, you're going to see why I brought it up and advanced the idea for as much. But even if you don't, hey, at least you're getting your steps in at the very least, right? And you're opening yourself up to what the universe has to offer. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you'll be an objective, you might just agree as well. But in any event, once again, happy birthday and take care of yourselves.